Well, hi, and welcome to episode 23 of the Social Strategy Mum podcast and live show. I am Caroline Partridge from Social Strategy Mum, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. This is going to be a short, snappy episode, probably only a few minutes, but I want to talk about this all-important piece when it comes to social media, or really to selling anything anywhere, and that is the CTA, or call to action. Now, the reason that call to actions have come in as this episode really comes down to a bit of a story that I want to share with you about a conversation that I had with one of my new VIP coaching clients. This client is amazing. She is taking so much action right now to grow social media and to grow the business that she is part of. And one of the things that we got to talking about was calls to action, because she sent me some copy for a post, which most of my VIP clients do. And we were tweaking this copy and talking about how we could make it better and how we could make it more appealing. We were talking about the hook, which might be something that features in another episode down the track, which is the thing that kind of drags people in and makes them want to scroll and stop scrolling and read more. But then we came to this call to action, and I made a suggestion to her that she put a call to action on this post. And it led to a conversation about calls to action and about some advice that she had heard online from a big social media guru. He is sort of the biggest of the social media gurus. And so it was all about how often you have a call to action and how often you share links in your content, particularly on Facebook, and how content with links doesn't get shown to as many people, and the Facebook algorithm doesn't like the link because it takes people off the platform. And so that we need to be only using links, she'd been told, a quarter of the time, so 1 out of every 4 posts. And therefore, why would she put a call to action on this post? We'd already had a call to action post recently. She had a plan for another one. So shouldn't this post just be a post? So in the way that I answered her, I realized that this is probably something that a lot of people are struggling with, and a lot of people will be seeing that same advice. And I give that same advice to not have a link on every post, because Facebook doesn't want you to take people off their platform, which completely makes sense, because Facebook wants you to be on your phone, be socializing, doing all those kinds of things, and consuming their content, consuming their ads, consuming all the things that make their money. And that's totally fair enough. I totally get that. But a call to action does not have to mean a link. And when we think about Instagram, a call to action never means a link, because you can't actually put a link that's clickable into an Instagram caption. So we really need to broaden our view of this idea of a call to action. And so I just want to start by talking about what actually is a call to action. And I'm going to talk about this within the scope of social media, but calls to action are everywhere. They're on sales pages, they're on websites, they're everywhere when it comes to our marketing. But we're just going to talk about social media calls to action. So a call to action really is the next step that you want someone who's consuming your content to take. It is about guiding them to the next step that is logical for them, based on the back of the content that they're consuming right now, based off of the way that your business operates. Where do you want them to go next? That is what a call to action is in its most simple terms, no matter where it is, social media or otherwise. So I really want you to have a think about that, because what we're really doing is just telling people what we want them to do next. This does not have to be a hard sell, buy my thing, whatever. It can be a very, very simple instruction about what you want them to do. So let's talk about these two types of calls to action, because we can have direct calls to action and we can have more indirect calls to action. And I want to pull apart what these are and talk a little bit about these, because so often I find that people either use a direct call to action or they use nothing. They either use a link or they use nothing. And I see this so often on Instagram because it either says, head to the link in my bio. Sometimes it might say, send me a DM, or it says nothing, or there is no call to action at the end of the caption. And the thing is, when it comes to the fundamental pieces of the algorithm for both Facebook and Instagram, they are looking for engagement. And the more engagement that you get, the more people are going to see your stuff. The more Facebook and Instagram are going to push your content out to more people. So we need to get that engagement. And so calls to action should be all about getting that engagement, just as much as they're about, or even more than they're about, having somebody click a link or buy something or download something or send us a message. Okay, so we've got direct calls to action where we're buying things or we're doing something specific like downloading a freebie, but then we've got these indirect calls to action where we're asking people to like our content, to comment on our content, and to share our content. Now, I fully understand that the algorithm doesn't love when you use those terms, particularly on Facebook. Whether you say them in a video or whether you write them in your copy, it doesn't love you saying, share this or like this. But there's so many indirect ways that we can get people to do that without necessarily having to say that. We can say something like, give me a high five down below, or put an emoji down below if you totally understand where I'm coming from. Or share with me a time that this has happened to you so that I know that you're understanding what I'm talking about. Or you can say something like, when's the time that you've been in this situation? Because what we're asking them to do is we're asking them to comment down below, or we're asking them to like our post without using those actual words. But that is just as powerful a call to action. One, because we're getting into a conversation with them, and conversations equal conversions. But also we're feeding the algorithm with the engagement that it needs. And it's super important to remember that before somebody's going to click on your link or they're going to buy your stuff, they need to have that know, like, trust factor that you're probably sick of hearing about. But one of the ways that they get that is by engaging with your content. And it is perfectly okay to ask people to do that. For this particular post with this particular VIP client, we wanted people to reach out to us. It was quite specific, this post, and it was serving quite a specific piece in, I guess, what you would call, for want of a better word, the funnel that comes to working with these particular people. So I want you to really take some time to think about the steps that people go through in order to work with you. And if you don't have a clear understanding of how your clients or customers come to you, then maybe you need to ask them, where did you find me? When did you first interact with me? How long were you interacting with me before you actually bought something from me? Or how long were you interacting with me before you downloaded my freebie? And, did you buy from my email list, or did you come along to a free training that I did? Talk to those clients and customers and find out what the process was for them to end up spending money with you, and then think about calls to action that help people move along that journey. Because in the end, we want to be using call to actions on most of our pieces of content to help move people to the logical next step for them and what they need so that we can serve them. And also the next logical step for how things play out in our business to move people closer to being able to make a buying decision. So what's the next logical step for them? And how does this play into how we serve them further? Think about direct and indirect calls to action. It does not have to mean that you are putting a link on every post, because Facebook is probably going to hate you. But think about what you're asking people to do. Avoid some of those clickbaity words like and comment, because Facebook's on the lookout for those, and it doesn't want clickbait content because that's not part of the social microcosm that it's intending to create. But think about ways that you can draw people into the conversation with you, that you can have the opportunity to chat to them. Ask them to slide into your DMs and answer a question or let you know their biggest struggle. You are opening up the opportunity for you to learn more about them, for them to learn more about you, and ultimately to start having those conversations that will end up equaling conversions. All right, that's what I've got to say. But I wanted to bring up the topic of call to actions, and I wanted to share with you that story about my VIP client, because so often we're just thinking about the link. We're just thinking about the sale. And ultimately, we want to be thinking about that entire process that somebody goes along before they buy from us, and how we can be leading them down that path, leading them through that progression every time they see a piece of content from us, and every time we put out there some kind of call to action. The upside of that is we're also feeding the social beast, feeding that algorithm. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's what I've got to say about calls to action. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I'm really, really glad that I've had the opportunity to share this with you. Make sure that if you have some time, you jump on over to Instagram, take a screenshot of this video or podcast, wherever you might be consuming this content. Take a screenshot, pop it into your Instagram stories, tag @Social Strategy Mum. I would love to give you a reshare. I'd love to get into a conversation with you about what you learnt from this episode. And hopefully I will speak to you again soon. All right, bye for now.